Hi everyone, my name is Yukari and I will be making daily process videos for the month of July as I sketch in my Hobonichi Techo for World Watercolor Month. So let's get started. It's day 6 of World Watercolor Month and today's prompt is memory. And every summer we spend just about the entire month of July in New England, except for last summer. And all over New England, you find beautiful flowers. About one flower that reminds me of New England is hydrangea. So that is what I'm illustrating today. All right, so here are the supplies that I am using today. I'm using number 6 Princeton Neptune and then number 2 I think it's also a Princeton. And the colors that I'm using are this purplish color made from Ultramarine Blue and Quin Lilac, and also just straight Ultramarine Blue, and then Sap Green. I'm just going to be sketching one large hydrangea in the corner with a couple of leaves, and instead of doing a straight pencil sketch, I'm just kind of dabbing, making outline just so that I can see where I am going. I am going to wet it's actually not a number 6, but a number 8 Princeton, and just kind of wetting the center because I want my colors to kind of flow. And but unfortunately on this Tomoe River paper, the pigments don't necessarily expand like they do on watercolor paper. So I keep kind of dabbing at it. So I added the purpley color first, and then for straight ultramarine blue. And you can see the paper buckling quite a bit already. And as I add more color, the watercolor just kind of pull in the valleys of these crinkles. And so I wanted to clamp the paper a little bit to straighten it out. And I'm looking for the right place to do it here. And it really just didn't matter. Even after I clamped it, the paper was still buckly. But that's kind of the property of Tomoe River paper. Adding a little water to the leaf area, and then I'm going to be adding Sap Green. And this is just the first layer, so I'm just laying down the color, and we'll be adding details a little later on. And I am fixing the shape of the leaf because I didn't quite like it so much. And another leaf. And at the end, I kind of didn't like the composition, so I did end up adding a little more green to the very corner of the page. All right, so we are going to let this dry after I add a little more color to it. So I'm going to try this technique of negative painting. And if you've ever done negative painting, you're adding shadow to the painting to create form and shape. And, a lot of loose watercolor artists do it. And I'm really pretty horrible at it, actually. And so I am going to cheat a little bit and use this property of Tomoe River paper where you can lift paint, even, some staining paints. The only exception is phthalo green and blue. Those colors are so staining that I can't even lift it off of Tomoe River paper. All right, so let's get going. Okay, so the first thing that you might notice is that I soften the edges of the flower. I didn't like the perfectly circle shapes, so that's what I did. And I am using my, excuse me, aqua brush because it's already loaded with water, and I am taking paint off. So it's a little bit easier just to use that. And so I'm making some petal shape. And if you noticed, I started out with the 4 petals in the center and then creating random petal shapes all around. And as I get to the edges, you know, it's less obvious that they're petals. And now I'm adding more shadows using a little darker version of the purple and mainly ultramarine blue. And just dotting colors and spreading, trying to define petal shapes all around. And it's pretty random, but as I get going, I'm better able to see petal shapes out of the form that I've created. So it's probably getting easier. And I start light, and that's just me. Artists sometimes will go bold and add really saturated color from the beginning. I'm a little more timid than that, so I tend to layer colors as I go. And so that's what you see me doing here. I add even darker colors for shadows as I go, and then it's a lot easier really to see the shape of the petals and adding more shadows. And I am adding a little more detail to the leaves. Hydrangea leaves are spiky, and so I added just these little jags and softening those edges and adding some color to my leaves. And I will be adding a little more detail a little later on, but definitely just adding colors here. And we are going to let this dry a bit so I can add a little more detail to the leaf shape. I suppose I can add a little more depth to my hydrangeas. I took my white paint and added a little veining just lightly so that I can see where they are. And I am adding a little more sap green, a little darker in between the veins to add detail to my leaves. And the top leaf, I couldn't see the veining that I did very well, so it's kind of funky at the moment. But I'm trying to see if I can find my veining on those, and just slowly building color. It's sap green. I just keep dipping the paint more and more into it to create a little detail. So before I show you my finished hydrangea for today, I wanted to show you my hydrangea from 3 years ago. This is a full page illustration, and I took 2 colors, I think, well, probably 3, ultramarine blue and cerulean and probably Quin rose, and lay down some color first, let it dry a bit, and then I took a wadded saran wrap and dabbed it to take some paint off of the paper. And then I came in and added more shadow with Ultramarine Blue. This one I like a little bit better, but I couldn't use that same technique for today's sketch because it's much smaller. And yeah, I didn't think that I could get the details that I wanted. And so it's a second technique. All right, here is my finished page with journaling. And I do talk a little bit about memories that we create here. We have lots of family in New England, and we love spending time with them, and the cousins really enjoy their time together. But I don't know if you noticed the journaling on both page. On the left, I use a 0.5 jet stream, and on the right, I use 0.7 jet stream. And sometimes I like the bolder pen. So, and the pen is much smoother at 0.7. And so, yeah, usually I use a 0.7 for journaling. But yeah, so here is my completed sketch. And notice that in the corner, I just added a little green because I just thought it needed it. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching. And here's my Instagram. And we'll see you tomorrow.